Hello and welcome to the ID Talk podcast. My name is Alex Perala. I am joined, as usual, by my good pal Tony Ditsionis. Hello, Tony.
Hello, Alex.
And we're very happy to welcome back friend of the pod, Evie Kim Singh, editor at identityweek.net and a key member of the Identity Week team. Evie, welcome back.
Hi, both. It's really great to speak to you again.
We're really happy to speak to you. It's always a pleasure, and we had fun meeting you in person recently at Identity Week Europe in Amsterdam. Um, Always a fun hang and a fun event as well. Like we felt like that was a huge success, and we have some actual documentary evidence of how much fun we were having there that's going to come out soon. But yeah, I guess what are your thoughts? It's been like several weeks at this point now that we're chatting again. Looking back, like what do you think of the show?
It was amazing, actually. A really great addition. The team's hard work definitely paid off. It was, of course, great to have you both there with us as supporters, partners over the last few months. Um, I saw your video walking around the show floor, and I think it captured the buzz. There was definitely a lovely buzz about the show this year. I conducted many great interviews with our lineup, as I usually do, and there was a good amount of press as well there. It's always good news when the press come to town and cover the event. So all in all, it was great, and I think there was lots of innovations on display from the sessions I managed to catch. As ever, talking about kind of the whole spectrum of digital ID to biometrics to secure documents, IM and the rest. So it has been a busy reporting year, and we've seen a lot of those topics kind of develop in the last few months. And as ever, that culminates in the show that we put on for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to second that. It's a good way to put it. The buzz and I mean this not to segue into Identity Week America, which is coming up shortly, but this will be the third show that ID Tech and Alex and myself will be participating in with you guys, and we're learning how to navigate these shows, and we're just learning that it's all about being out and about and walking around and speaking to people and you were interviewing a lot of people and we were interviewing people and just getting out there and talking to as many people as possible because it is cool to see all the top stories and the hottest topics of the last year or several months culminating in one place, and it's just kind of a race to see how much you can personally absorb while you're there. It's so much fun.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the approach you should take. I mean, um, networking is your golden ticket really to meeting all those companies, organizations, and securing whatever your objective is, securing those contacts and business partnerships. So yeah, we're now focusing on the next one. Um, so Identity Week America is coming up. It'll be on the 10th and 11th of September at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. So it's really a hub, um, obviously in a perfect location for bringing together public sector representatives, but also the whole spectrum of sectors where identity, relates. I think that's becoming an ever increasing list of, whether it's finance, travel authorities, retail and e-commerce has really grown in our representation at the event. Telcos, healthcare, they all converge. And I think we've got a really different, diverse agenda of kind of those different verticals this year. So I'm really excited about the event. Um, would be really great to kind of just go through those sessions in case anyone hasn't seen our agenda or doesn't know what's on the cards. But there's going to be a lot of obviously exclusive announcements that you'll only be able to hear if you're at the event. And that goes, for our press pack who always come down to the show and kind of in particular want to hear those developments, whether they're really around kind of digital ID and biometrics and how that's really playing out on the political stage as well.
Mhm.
All those massive topics, they just yeah, they attract the ecosystem. So I'm looking forward to September. It's coming up fast.
Mhm. Yeah, well, like on that note, with the agenda, Tony and I were looking through. There's interesting stuff that we kind of wanted to get a little preview on. Like, we cover the mobile driver's license news that's coming out of well, like around the world, but in the US in particular, it's going kind of state by state, and it's interesting to see who's involved in all these projects and what they look like when they actually get launched. And so I saw that you have a couple people from Utah. Is it the Utah government? They're government representatives who are going to talk about the Utah digital ID?
Yeah, so it's we've got a couple of speakers from the state of Utah government. So George McEwen and Christopher Bramwell on the agenda. So, this is we've had lots of different kind of states kind of talked about their mobile driving licenses and different IDs. I think we haven't had the state of Utah before. This is really exciting. They're going to be talking about their state-sponsored digital ID. And as you mentioned, it seems like every week, and more states are kind of complying with those MDL, requirements, and it's really exciting to see kind of the hold that digitalized identity has across the pond as well as here. There's lots of developments everywhere with digital ID and trust services. So yeah, really excited to have those on board. Good spot. I think as well I'll just go through some of the key highlights. We've got some presentations on day one. We've got Prashant Sharma, who's the Executive Director of Biometrics and Identity Solutions at JP Morgan. So we've got massive banking entities as well, showcasing their biometric payment platforms. And that's another topic, biometrics and that adoption. They'll be explaining the JPM system that's been rolling out. We've got the Kantar initiative as well involved. They're a long-standing partner. Kay Chopard, the executive director, will be presenting and looking into the new NIST guidelines, which I don't know if you caught that. But this is really, really fresh news, and that's just been released last week in terms of digital IDs. So yeah, we can go into more detail about that. I think that's something that anyone traveling to the event from the UK especially will be interested in. Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure. I mean, we did indeed catch that news, and it seems like it's like a very long time coming. I mean, I'm not an expert on that topic, but just reading like some of the background to the new revisions. What did they call it? It was like revision 4 or something.
Yeah,
Um,
so it's the NIST Digital Identity Guidelines 863 revision 4.
right. Yeah.
So yeah, as I say, I'm not a particular expert in this, but we have the good thing about Identity Week is you're in contact with a lot of experts in this
Mhm.
field.
Yeah.
So it's obviously kind of a compliance mandate, but there was quite a lot of public review going on as well when this came out, and I get the impression that how the industry sees and defines digital ID is now kind of reflected in guidelines and really paints a picture of why digital identity is so important to adopt.
Hmm.
Um, and we've got a lot of dynamic ID systems that balance risk, trust, usability, equity. So it's kind of an urge for everyone to get on top of those technical requirements, um, because because identity is everywhere, and you're focused on passwordless digital wallets, which are now massive identity actors, ID verification and proofing, um, you know, AI and how that's used in identity. There's so many um, important, important kind of conversations going on. So yeah, that was really exciting to read about. And of course, we've got NIST speaking at the show. I think on day two, talking about as well the threat of face morphing for ID credentials, and how that's particularly a quite sophisticated technique that the fraudsters use to essentially merge and blend faces and kind of single images together. So we've got all these aspects at the show,
Yeah.
and it's really important to have the people right who are working on these things.
Hmm. Yeah, and
And
I think what you just mentioned, that's a NIST, like that's an actual computer scientist from NIST, who's going to be speaking, if I read that right. So yeah, I'd be interested to hear what like an actual expert engineer or scientist is actually saying about this, threat, which sounds a lot like a deepfake style threat, but
yeah, and just to add to that, and anybody who's covered this industry and worked in this industry for more than, a week knows that anytime NIST has an announcement or any news, there's a lot of commentary on it. Everybody has something to say. There's just it's such a pivot point for discussion, especially on LinkedIn. So
mhm.
it's exciting to think of them being at the show, making an announcement that, as you guys both pointed out, has been a long time coming. Just to hear what kind of discussions come out of that in person.
Yeah, and I'm looking, just scrolling through the list of attendees now in the agenda. I see, like, for example, Jay Meyer, another friend of the pod who's been on many times. He's gone into detail about that
Mhm.
stuff, the NIST
Yeah.
guidelines. So I'll be interested. I want to catch up with him. But there's a
Was it
lot of
obvious?
to hear
Was it
from.
obvious that I was alluding to Jay when I said people have opinions on this?
Uh, Not just
Yeah.
him though. I mean, there'll
Yep.
be a lot of people who are going to be talking about this. Yeah, it's a pretty impressive list of people who are in attendance. But yeah, there was another thing, Evie, that I wanted to ask you about, that we spotted. The Cloud Security Alliance, co-chair of its AI safety working group, Ken Huang. So it seems like they're going to be giving a presentation on deepfakes. This is something we're covering like constantly
Mhm.
on our site, the deepfake threat, and obviously everybody's talking about it. We've leaned quite heavily into coverage of AI driven threats, so I'm keen to hear that talk. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right to lean into it. I think there is a quite a nasty side to the way that AI can be manipulated and used. So that presentation that you mentioned is going to be focusing on deepfakes and how they change the game of fraud. Um, but there's obviously different types and kind of degrees of fraud that I'm covering every day, really.
Mhm.
Um, so yeah, I think on the balance of that as well, we have got um, another speaker who will focus on and there'll be lots of coverage of kind of AI in its view as a kind of very innovative technology, and it's how kind of that can be best used um, for verification as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, just going back to what you were saying about Face Tech, I think obviously that there are title sponsor. So and there's a big focus on kind of AI surges and AI models within kind of our kind of exhibitors and the sort of companies that are supplying these technologies. So Face Tech in particular have a principle called biometric binding, and they will be really heavily involved in the show,
Mhm.
um, as well as, the other our other partners, iProve, CETA, HID. There's a long list that on our website, but that collaboration from both sides, really, from all those suppliers to kind of end user organizations, the sorts of use cases that you're seeing are really fascinating to cover day in, day out, because we're seeing the evolution of how these technologies can meet demands in the sectors. So yeah, fascinating. I think even picking out there's a session here called Reimagining Stadium Experiences, and you don't perhaps think about how kind of frictionless biometric entry can benefit us, entertainment venues and spaces like that. But really, this technology is going into all manners of personalized experiences and automating journeys.
Mhm.
So yeah, fascinating, isn't it?
hmm Yeah, it's going to be, I mean, there's so much to talk about. And like we said at the beginning, like Tony, I think was saying that, at least from our experience in Europe, there was just there was almost like, well, there was just too much to cover. Like we couldn't talk to everyone we wanted to talk to just because there
Yeah.
isn't time. It's not physically possible. But there's always something going on, and that's the other side of it. Like there's always an interesting discussion happening or interesting people to meet. People listening who are thinking about going or are booked to go should definitely check out the agenda now that it's out and try to like my advice is make a plan.
Hmm.
Pick some things you definitely need to see, but also leave some space to actually go around and talk to people and have some spontaneous conversations. We had more than a few of those in Europe, and it's a huge like we were at the DC show last year. It's a huge space,
Yeah.
so I mean, pack a water bottle,
Yeah.
like wear comfy shoes.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do and see.
And weren't you telling me in Amsterdam you met a company that you went on to work with quite closely from our America show?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Yeah,
Yeah.
really good connection made for us there, and yeah, here's hoping for more of that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Evie, thank you so much for this preview, and we're really looking forward to seeing you once again in person in DC.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to talk about obviously our upcoming show on the 10th and 11th of September at the Walter E. Washington Convention Center. I think it's going to be a blast, and thank you for the opportunity to go through some of the sessions as well. I think people will really um, be engaged and interested by those conversations.
For sure.
Agreed. Thank you, Evie.